Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, the fallout from yesterday's sudden and unexpected resignation of Premier Peter Gutwein. Jeremy Rockcliffe is firming up as the man likely to take over as leader, according to Liberal Party sources. There was silence from the government today as the new political landscape began to take shape.
The hunt for the next Premier is on, but who will step into the chasm opened up by Peter Gutwein's bombshell resignation?
Jeremy Rockcliffe, because he's certainly put on the yards and he's got the public reputation that probably makes him the people's choice.
Liberal sources tell 7 Tasmanian News the Deputy Premier wants the leadership. The Braddon MP is popular with the public and respected by his peers.
He's kind and he's decent and intelligent, and he's always, I think, always put the public interest first.
But the news comes despite persistent rumours he could leave politics.
It appears the frontrunners are factional rivals in Jeremy Rockcliffe and Michael Ferguson, and we also sense that one of them doesn't really want the job and the other one Tasmanians don't want to see have the job.
It's unclear if Michael Ferguson will stand for the premiership. The now Infrastructure Minister was Peter Gutwein's main rival for the job in 2020. Opponents are casting doubt on his character, though.
He's brittle, unforgiving, couldn't apologise to victim survivor Tiffany Skeggs for almost 3 weeks after he behaved appallingly.
The entire party was absent today. Roger Jensch was scheduled to appear at a youth social enterprise, but the event was cancelled with no replacement. The search is also on for a treasurer, as well as other key roles, depending on who ascends to the top job. A recount will be held in Bass. Simon Wood narrowly missed out 2 months ago as Sarah Courtney's replacement. He now looks almost certain to take a seat, but Greg Keeser could challenge him.
I won't count my chickens until they are hatched, but look, I'm certainly glad to be in the mix.
The Tasmanian Electoral Commission says the new member will be confirmed around Anzac Day. Labor says they see no need to prorogue Parliament in the meantime and are offering up a pair. Those lining up for the federal election in May say yesterday's news won't affect that race.
No, I don't think so. I think that we still have a Liberal government here in Tasmania. We still work very closely with the government, and so I think it still puts us in good stead.
Stable Gutwein government was the catch cry of the Liberal Party during last year's state election. It's no longer a stable or a Gutwein government. Pollsters say time will tell whether 4 high-profile resignations during the first year will have a lasting effect on their credibility.
For a party to lose one leader looks like an accident. To lose 2 begins to look careless, and that's certainly an issue.
After finding the new leader, the next task is to stop the conga line out the door. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Prominent Tasmanian leaders and industry figures have reacted to the resignation. The opposition says it demonstrates a government in chaos, while members of the public have thanked the leader for standing up in trying times.
Tasmania's most important political player has delivered a blow to the landscape.
On one hand, I didn't particularly like him, on the other hand, he's done a great job, and I think at the end of the day, he deserves his own time as a reward.
I'd support him all the way through, basically, and I think he's done a fantastic job, so let's hope that the next one can do anything like as well.
With nothing else to give, Peter Gutwein is stepping aside for family time, news that came as a shock to his opponents.
I was surprised because the Premier went to an early election last year. He's been in the job just a short while, really, and now less than a year after that election was called, he's quit.
Greens leader Cassie O'Connor commended his 20 years of service, using the time to reignite calls for a larger parliament.
It's very clear, I think, to the overwhelming majority of Tasmanians that the parliament is too small for good governance, too small for times of crisis such as this.
Concerns have also been raised ahead of the Commission of Inquiry into child sexual abuse.
I would hope the Premier's resignation does not influence the work of the Commission.
Meanwhile, his tourism portfolio is in the spotlight for the state's industry body.
From our perspective, we think it's the most sensible position for the Tourism Minister to sit with the Premier, whoever it is. So that's certainly the recommendation we've got for the government.
As business figures held nothing but praise for his efforts.
His drive in business has been evident. We've always had a great communication with the Premier, and his understanding of business as a businessman himself has been really important.
Along with his political achievements, Peter Gutwein always kept the state's sporting sector front of mind, securing Tasmania's first Ashes test, supporting the inaugural NBL team and working towards obtaining an AFL licence are among the accolades.
Once he made his mind up that he wanted to do something, he was a very determined man, and I had no doubt from a long way out, as soon as we started talking about the prospect of getting an Ashes test, that we were going to get it.
AFL Chief Executive Gillan McLachlan thanked the Premier, saying his passion for football is well known and they look forward to continuing their current work.
It was clear that he was passionate throughout and pushed a big case for Tasmania and a clear case, and he was a strong supporter of footy and we thank him for that.
Tasmanian legends keeping the dream of a team alive.
So the task force, the remaining stakeholders involved are resolute. This is moving forward and the conversations remain really positive.
Although away from the big picture, Gutwein spared the time for even the smallest of matters.
Take care.
Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
COVID and close contact requirements have forced 2 Launceston restaurants to shut their doors. Rupert and Hound and Cataract on Patterson will close until at least the weekend, with more than a third of staff isolating at home. The owner says it will be a big financial blow, but they have no option. Tasmania recorded 2,437 new infections today, a significant jump on yesterday. Well, a 71-year-old woman has died following a crash in Ulverston. Police say a Toyota Hilux was travelling west on Westella Drive last night when it drove into the path of her Suzuki Baleno, resulting in a head-on collision. Anyone with information or dashcam footage is asked to contact police. A coroner has found a passenger who died after jumping from a moving vehicle was more than 3 times a legal blood alcohol limit. In November 2020, Briley Bruinwood plunged from her husband's car on Rookery Road in Winkley, hitting a dirt mound and causing a traumatic head injury. She died in hospital a month later. Coroner Olivia McTaggart determined the death was not suspicious, rather an irrational decision in a highly intoxicated state. A man has been charged with arson following a fire at emergency accommodation provider Flint House in Newtown yesterday afternoon. The extent of the damage remains unclear, but 30 residents are now in temporary accommodation as a result. The 26-year-old has been remanded in custody and will face the Hobart Magistrates Court later this month. New research shows Tasmania is experiencing concerning high rates of multiple sclerosis. The report has found the condition of patients is deteriorating due to a severe shortage of specialised nurses.
Being diagnosed with a life-altering disease is a day that Andrew Potter remembers all too well. The multiple sclerosis sufferer, unknowing of where he would be today without the many helping hands of specialised nurses.
Living with a neurological condition which isn't much fun, but it's okay. And it's okay because I've had a nurse with me.
The uncurable and invisible condition attacks the central nervous system and can lead to devastating consequences if left untreated.
You've had, years of inflammatory damage caused by this disease, and there's nothing that you can do to regain that lost ground.
Personalised care, a lifesaver, not only for patients, but for the state's struggling healthcare system.
Access to an MS nurse reduces the amount of emergency admissions. It frees up the GP list.
But receiving help is easier said than done. A recent study revealing that Tasmania has some of the highest MS statistics in the world.
In Tasmania we have a bit over 1,000 people that have MS, and it's likely that about a third of those people don't have access to MS nurse care.
Inadequate pay is forcing nurses to step down from doing what they love most.
It's difficult for nurses to continue to live under those arrangements.
The MS community says more federal government funding to attract and retain staff is a no-brainer.
If we all had, across the nation, an MS nurse walking hand in hand with us, we're going to be better off.
Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
A coroner has determined that a man who went missing while sailing Bass Strait likely drowned or succumbed to hypothermia. Stanley William Wood went missing from his vessel Manana sometime on 26 December 2020 near Deal Island. Coroner Simon Cooper recommended all persons operating recreational vessels wear a personal flotation device and carry a locator beacon. For the first time in its 30-year history, Stompin will take its dance performances to the air. The youth group will use trampolines to present its latest show, which focuses on the mental health of young people. 16 performers will run and bounce around Launceston's airtime to convey uncertainty.
Also about this idea of resilience, about what brings them joy, what makes them sad, and the complexities of that feeling as a young person.
Organisers say planning the show with the young dancers has given them a greater insight into youth mental health. The first performance begins tomorrow.
Women's footy in Tasmania is continuing to grow year on year, according to the SFL. The league says many female players are signing up across the 3 divisions for their first season in the sport. North Hobart is bracing for a tough clash against Glenorchy, who've lost a chunk of last year's premiership winning side.
It's the only team we haven't yet beat, so something to prove for us girls. Glenorchy have also got some great juniors coming up through their program, so it'll be a really interesting game, I think.
Meanwhile, Hutchins is unsure of what to expect, stepping up a division. They haven't been able to play a practice match.
We're just going to go out there and see what it's like, and it'll set us up for the rest of the season. We'll just have to wait and see.
Today, all 19 women's captains help launch the season, which begins on Friday night. University are crediting a brutal pre-season fitness regime for their undefeated start to the men's Premier League hockey season. After a conservative first stanza, the students piled on the goals in a surprise 6-1 win over the 2020 Premiers Northwest Graduates.
Started well, we put an early goal away and that led to good momentum for us. And then we just kept to our structure and then the goals came later on in the game.
It was the opposite in the women's, with the unbeaten Northwest grads recovering from an early scare to overpower Uni. The highlight in the 5-1 win was this near length of the field individual goal from Grace Calvert.
Good evening. 20 was the state's top at Burnie today, Hobart 16 and a top of 19 for Devonport and Launceston, 18 on King Island, St Helens 17, 15 at Grove and 13 in Lyowini. The satellite pictures show extensive cloud extending over Tasmania from South Australia, while there's a cloud band swirling around a weakening low over the Tasman Sea, with a cloud band extending over South Australia to the east of Tasmania, and extensive cloud is lying over south of WA, with convective cloud above the top end and eastern Queensland. Tomorrow's chart shows troughs and several lows remaining over the mainland, while an area of high pressure lies over Tasmania, with a centre towards the south of the state. Easterly winds of 15 to 25 knots about the north, reaching up to 30 knots about the central north and northwest throughout the morning and early afternoon. South to southwesterly swells of 2 to 3 metres about the west and the south. And a strong wind warning is in place for the far northwest coast and central north coast. Partly cloudy in Hobart tomorrow, Geeston 18, cloud clearing for Bothwell. Launceston 21, partly cloudy in Devonport and a top of 19 in Cressy. Burnie partly cloudy, 19 in Strawn and showers clearing in Curry. St Helens cloudy, a top of 16 in Swansea and 15 in Orford. Turning to the 3-day forecast, fine conditions about much of the state on Thursday, with mostly light winds and afternoon coastal sea breezes, 22 in Launceston and 19 in Strawn. Similar conditions on Friday, with afternoon coastal sea breezes about the west and the south. And showers about the north on Saturday, fine elsewhere, 24 in Hobart and 20 in Burnie. Mostly sunny in Cairns tomorrow, Sydney 23, partly cloudy in Adelaide, a top of 33 in Alice Springs and a shower or two and a possible storm in Darwin. Cloudy and 16, Devonport showers and 12, and things are cooling off over the next few days, Kim, before it heats up on the weekend.
Thank you, Victoria. See you again tomorrow. And that's all we have time for this evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Good night.